Hey, what's up everybody? Radex here, the one from 72, the ultra neutral, and today I am going to be bringing you the reasons why there was a 1972 time hack, as well as the fact that it was actually connected to 2020. See, they set it up as a 48-year event, and I'm going to be explaining that as well as a few other things. But before I do get to that, I want to address, I do have a viewer, you know, he's like a naysayer. He keeps popping up and he keeps bringing up the thing about the moon landing. So I told him I would debate him, but however, we're having issues on what platform we're going to do a debate on, because I'm saying, you know, Zoom. There's nothing really for me to gain out of the debate with him, but I will address that question right here, right now, to make it clear to him. Obviously, he did not understand the time hack test video. In fact, if you look at that video, there's one thumbs down. That's probably him. So the problem that he is having and the issue that he's having is he's saying that the moon landing never happened. My position is I don't care whether the moon landing happened or it did not happen. It doesn't matter. What matters is the claim. The claim that they were going to the moon stopped in the same year as everything else that happened during the time hack. That is what's important. And if you watch the video and you listen, one is going to see if you can actually go through the entire list of 62 events without getting stuck on one focal point as I'm going through the events. In other words, if I bring up something like the moon landing, the last time man landed on the moon was in the year 1972. And as I'm continuing going through the list, your mind is still stuck on, well, they never went to the moon in 1972. So if you're stuck there in that point and your focal point is stuck, your mind is not fast enough to process the information and to receive the information to move forward because you get stuck on a focal point. So yes, I'm sorry if your mind is not capable of understanding that point. It's because it's not entirely your fault. It may be a lot of your own fault, but I don't think that it's all entirely your fault. I think that it's a possibility, a great possibility, that your minds have all been hacked. All of your minds have been clouded for a very long time, which, by the way, that's another thing too, with I'm seeing the trails up in the sky again. And 1972 was when there was a big thing about that. It was called Operation Popeye. Well, what do you think could be some of the stuff that's going on in those clouds, some of that stuff that's coming down? I mean, come on guys, really start to try to force yourself out of the fog. Force your brain to open up. Stop putting up defense mechanisms. Stop trying to go into denial. Stop looking for the comfort zone. Stop looking for the easy road. Force your mind to break away from that. Take a look at the time hack. Look at it, all of the things that went on in 1972 and how it's not possible for them all to happen. So force yourself to look at it. Ask questions. Yes, you can ask me all the questions that you want. You can do all the research that you want. Try to break out. You can never get to the point to where you're actually going to understand this thing until after it's too late. And what I mean by too late is the fact that what's happening right now. The government is being forced. They will not just disclose this information just because they're going to disclose their information. They are being forced to disclose it. So when I'm hearing people saying, oh, this is another one of those false flag things, or this is just another diversion, it's just kind of like, do you really understand what you're saying? Like, do you understand the gravity of what's happening? Because the problem is going to be is that they're going to disclose a bunch of stuff. A lot of things are going to happen. And when those people, instead of them taking a step back and saying, you know what, let me look deeper into it, they automatically go into defense mechanism. And that is one of the cases that they're going to make because of people like you to say, this is why we haven't been talking about this stuff, because there are people who are going to be in great denial and it's going to cause a lot of problems. And so this is the reason why the time hack happened. Are you ready for it? Are you guys really ready for it?
Now, to me, one of the most interesting things that I found about this was that actually the real historical anomaly was that we didn't talk about UFOs since 1970 or so. That one of the things I found is that between 1947 and 1970, UFOs were a regular subject of conversation. They were on the cover of magazines. They were on TV. It was debated in public and press conferences.
Did you guys catch it? Did you hear what he said? I'm going to play it one more time. I want you, before I tell you what happened, I want you to listen very carefully. Listen to what he says.
One of the things I found is that between 1947 and 1970, UFOs were a regular subject of conversation. They were on the cover of magazines. They were on TV. It was debated in public and press conferences.
Okay, so if you haven't figured out, I'm going to explain it to you. Obviously, there was a time, and I've said this before, and I just don't think I've made it clear. There was a time before 1970, 1972, where, and it's funny because he says 1970, but I really think he means 1972. There was a time before then when aliens actually were openly working with humans on this planet. Like, the veil was up, they were here, and there was things that were going on, and humans knew, and there was just a lot of stuff that was already open, and it was accepted. Like, I'm sure that there was groups that were against what was happening. There are people who were saying that they were demons. There are people who were making a lot of poo-poo about it, hysteria that they were still slumping back into and didn't trust so much about what was going on, and humans just were not ready at that point. So for them to actually get to the point to where they can get there's no way to fix it, right? At that point, once the aliens, think about it, once they expose themselves, and as time goes on, and they are trying to integrate with the humans here and trying to make them understand that they're not alone, and maybe there's groups that want to worship them and they're trying to say, no, don't worship us. And I'm just talking about a generalized alien civilizations. I'm not talking about the ones who have some very controlling issues over the human race, okay? Because I am sure that there is a lot of aliens out there who don't like the fact that other species go to planets and secretly behind the scenes enslave a whole planet of people that's on the planet. I'm sure that that's probably really shunned and probably looked at as not very ethical in the galaxy, you know. So anyhow, when you look at it and you think about it, right? If there's too much problems as years are going on and they've revealed themselves, and now you've got, you know, UFOs coming back and forth and things are going on, and they're openly working with different governments of the world, and all that stuff's happening. If they got to the point to where the humans are still causing problems, there's still becoming a lot of dissension inside of governments, inside of just really bad, where it gets to the point where it's almost out of control, then how are the aliens going to do a reset, right? We're in 2021. They keep talking about it's a great reset. How would they reset everything? Well, first, I mean, obviously, if they can shift in and out of dimensions, if they can time travel, well, then they have a means and a way to control time. If they're already so advanced that their minds can make you believe things or see things or do things against your own will if they wanted to, because their minds are much more powerful than yours, then you have another facet there. They can create machines or devices that can actually do that to almost an entire planet. You know, they can maybe make something that they could put in the air to help, you know, when you breathe it in, that there's something that goes into your lungs that goes right up into your brain that clouds your mind from seeing certain things, as well as frequencies that probably work from that as well. So they would have to clean everything up. If they said the humans are not ready, right? So they would have to clean it all up. And how would they do that? They would literally take a point in time and they would say, this is where we want to stop everything, and we want to go back in hiding for a while until this planet and this species is ready to accept us, until like things, I don't know, like a bunch of movies and a bunch of, you know, where it becomes more acceptable. People walk around t-shirts with aliens on them and stuff like that. You didn't have that as much back in the 50s and 60s and until like later in the 70s and stuff, but you know, they needed to wait till it was more acceptable. So they couldn't just say, hey, we're just gonna pack up and leave and just hope you guys all forget about it. No, they're going to use technology, and that technology is going to make all the humans on the planet forget what happened. They're going to try to kind of like erase everything, like you see on the Men in Black where they do the little thing and they tell you like something else happened. There's a little truth to that, believe it or not. There's a little bit of truth to that. They're going to do that, but they're also going to have to clean up moments in time where there was just way too much alien presence, and there's just no way that they could actually just completely hide it, right? They have to clean up these points in time. When they clean up those points in time, they create what is called a time hack. And when they create the time hack, they have to take a bunch of moments in time and they shove them into 1 year. And hopefully nobody ever sees this. Nobody will ever spot the fact that this year there's a lot of things that are happening that are not naturally, that should have not naturally occurred. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you guys. Look, they set it up so that way humans would forget everything that happened with alien interaction until the time come when they was ready to come out of the shadows again, when they're ready to lift the veil. And that's exactly what's happening this year. That's why it's a great reset. That's why 2020, I kept telling everybody that was in game, because it was totally connected to 1972. It was a 48-year stint where they set it up for, they had a time hack in 1972, they ended or beginning things all over again in 2020, and there's something else that I can't really say on here because you know they will strike your videos down, but there is a reason why 2020 went through that major event that happened, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, and you know why and now you will realize why everybody had to get their puppy shots, because you cannot go and play with the rest of the puppies in the pen if you're going to be passing any type of diseases on or be carrying diseases over from the other puppies, you know, so vice versa. So anyhow, guys, I hope that makes it clear. I hope you understand everything, that your minds start to unlock before this happens, because I'm trying to help you get to that point so that way you're more prepared for it than people who are just going to get hit with a sledgehammer. And with that, enjoy the rest of the time that you have left.
It's the story of the U.S. government's grudging acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, more commonly known as UFOs. Next month, Congress is expecting a report from the Director of National Intelligence and other agencies on UFOs, or UAP. We spent some time reporting on this story. We should have spent a lot more time, because this could be the most consequential thing to happen to this country, to this world, maybe ever. For decades, UFOs have been the stuff of science fiction. Could they also possibly be the stuff of reality?